You know, I'm getting real tired of hearing about Snow White, and not just this upcoming Snow White remake, the Disney 2024 one, Snow White and the 7 diversity hires. I'm getting real tired of hearing about Snow White in general, because that includes the upcoming 2024 remake by the Daily Wire. Yeah, you know, like Ben Shapiro, Jeremy Boring, that Daily Wire. They have an up-and-coming Snow White remake for their children's streaming service, because that's what the world needed, another streaming service. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and if you were unaware, the Daily Wire is going to be doing their own version of Snow White, and I got some thoughts on it alongside an article, so let's get into it. But before we do, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to the 2,000 subscriber mark before the end of the year, and with just under 400 to go, we very well might do it. So, you know, you're going to get some nerdy news every day, sometimes multiple times a day, some great live streams. Let's get to this article, shall we? Daily Wire is making a rival Snow White movie trolling Disney. The conservative media company released a teaser trailer for Snow White and the Evil Queen, starring YouTuber Brett Cooper, followed backlash over Disney's upcoming Snow White starring Rachel Zegler. And for those of you that are not aware, Brett Cooper is a female. I know it's a very dude-like name. I've never met a female Brett in my life, but if you didn't know, Brett Cooper, yeah, that's a chick. Usually a pretty good-looking chick, by the way. Not so much in the Snow White trailer. She's looking kind of rough for a pretty young girl, so just throwing that out there for you. Conservative media company The Daily Wire announces making a live-action Snow White movie following right-wing backlash over Disney's upcoming live-action Snow White. Okay, this we're going. Hollywood Reporter. Obviously, being the Hollywood Reporter, you're going to have a very particular lean to your reporting, but it's not just right-wing backlash. I'm sure you also probably called the backlash against The Little Mermaid, the recent remake, right-wing as well. Maybe it's just that general audiences are so incredibly tired of these god-awful cash-grab nostalgia bait remakes that nobody asked for. Look, I get it. The Lion King made a gajillion dollars in 2019. It ain't 2019 anymore. Peter Pan bombed. Pinocchio bombed. All these recent live-action Disney remakes post The Lion King have been gutter failures, and this one is going to be no different. It's not just right-wing individuals that don't like it. Now, obviously, there's going to be people on the right that don't like it, but let me tell you, one of my best friends in the world, a gal named Kate, is about as left-wing as they come, because yes, I can actually make friends with people on both sides of the political aisle, because there's more to life than just politics. But my point is, my gal, Kate, you know, very left-leaning individual, voted for Biden, she also doesn't want this freaking movie, because she knows it's nostalgia bait crap, cash grab nonsense, and she spent a long time trash talking this film. So all I got to say is quit calling it right-wing backlash and just be any sort of intellectually honest about it, and just know that fans, actual Disney fans who grew up in the golden era of Disney, hate this crap. Titled Snow White and the Evil Queen, the movie, teaser trailer below, stars YouTuber Brett Cooper as the princess and a film based on the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, which is now in the public domain. It's a story about a princess and a prince, about beauty and vanity, about love and its power to raise us from death to life. The Daily Wire co-founder Jeremy Boring. It's our own adaptation of an ancient fairy tale. Boring made the announcement when launching Bentkey, Daily Wire's new kids entertainment brand that seeks to take on Disney Plus at a time when some conservatives have grown frustrated with the legacy studio. Once again, you're just pointing at conservatives. It is not just conservatives who are tired with Disney. That Disney's stock would not be taking the hits it would be taking. Disney wouldn't have lost almost $1 billion in their last 10 releases cumulatively if it was just conservatives. You guys are giving conservatives an awful lot of power, but if there was that many conservatives out there, why didn't Donald Trump get reelected, for example? You're going to have to you just do the math, use a little bit of common sense, acknowledge real-world people who are apolitical and individuals on the left also don't like the direction Disney's going. Now, that being said, like I said in the intro, I'm getting tired of hearing about Snow White because I want my art to be, you know, honest. I want it to be artistic. That's why it's art. Films, books, movies, video games, and I don't think the Daily Wire is doing this in good faith. I'm actually not here to defend this movie. I don't want the Daily Wire touching this. The only reason they're doing this, at least so far as I can tell, is, like the headline says, to troll Disney. I'm sorry, I don't think that's a good reason to make a film, just to troll a company you don't like that's been getting very political in a direction that you don't like the last several years. If you were going to go ahead, if you wanted to do this, if you had some sort of artistic integrity, Daily Wire, why not choose any of the dozens upon dozens of other Grimm's fairy tale movies? Because we all know you're doing this to troll Disney. I mean, maybe you haven't come out and said it, or maybe you're not trying to hide it and you think it's obvious. Either way, that means that this is not a movie that's being made with the right intentions. You could claim claim, oh, our intentions are to give the children something to watch that's not woke crap full of, ideological nonsense and, turning, fairy godmothers into fairy godmothers that are actually dudes in a dress. Like, make whatever claim you want, but you don't care about the actual story. You don't care about the source material. You're doing this as a jab at Disney because you don't like them. And me, I don't think that's a good reason to make a movie. I don't think that's a good reason to really make any art unless your heart is truly in it. And something tells me, I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that there's no heart behind this project. So no, I don't think this needs to exist. And I really hope individuals don't watch this and don't watch the Rachel Zegler Disney movie. Like, if you had to pick one or the other, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and pick this because at least it's, not giving money to, like, an overarching large conglomeration that controls the world, Disney. But it's still going to, a massive corporation, the Daily Wire. So, I don't know, I guess pick your poison. It's taken 100 years to build Disney, Boring added. We know we aren't what Disney is today, but we hope in time we might become what they were once upon a time. A little studio with big ideas and the courage to chase them. While Disney still uses Walt's name, they have all but abandoned his legacy. Boring's statement continued along those lines. You don't even want to use his full quote. His statement, what did he say? I want to know, what was the rest of his statement? Because thus far, this is entirely accurate. As a massive Walt Disney fan, as somebody that in school wrote reports on Walt Disney, as someone who has watched many a Walt Disney documentary, I think that man was fascinating. He led a fascinating life. He had a lot of fascinating opinions. He created, with his brother Roy Disney, the most recognizable brand in the world outside possibly the Golden Arches. The man is truly a man of legend. And what current Disney isn't, like, it's a complete abandonment of his legacy. Jeremy Boring is entirely correct. Look, I may not like their reasoning for creating this Snow White movie, but call a spade a spade. He is 100% onto something here. So he says that, they want to be what Disney once was. Are you going to do that, though? Are you going to make apolitical programming? Like, maybe you will. From what I've heard, some of their previous films, the more adult-oriented Daily Wire films, have been relatively apolitical. And you know what? If they're going to actually go that route, you can't judge something until you see it. But I am going off of first impressions here, and my first impression is trolling Disney is just a win for a temporary culture war, and it's not actually substantive, and it's not something that will carry you through the legacies, through the generations, like these original Disney stories have. Trolling Disney in 2024 for some culture war crap that's going to be over by 2030 is not going to leave the same impression on people's hearts and minds and souls that making truly good art, like the original Snow White that came out in 1937, would have done. So you can claim all you want that you want to do what Disney did, but are you going to do it in a way that appeals to everybody at their most basic moral and intellectual and honestly artistic standards that they have in their mind, they have in their soul, they probably don't realize they have? Anyone can watch a movie and not go in expecting anything, and then they might be touched. They might look back on it 20 years later and remember the emotions they felt when they watched it. I don't see that happening with really any Daily Wire project. Is there anything that they can do or that they have done or that they will do that you can think of that's going to be remembered like classic Disney? If they're able to, hats off to them. I applaud that. But I'm sorry, I think they're just in here for, some sort of, cash grab at people who are fed up with Disney. And you know what? I'm fed up with Disney. I've been fed up with Disney for a real long time now. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to start throwing my money towards another company hoping that they're the anti-Disney. I want things to be better, not just the reverse side of the same coin. Cooper hosts the Daily Wire-produced show, The Comment Section with Brett Cooper. I was raised on the original Grimm's fairy tales, so I'm thrilled that we're bringing the iconic story to life for the next generation, Cooper said. Snow White is such a beautiful character, and I'm honored to be playing her. Like all the best fairy tales, this is a story with timeless values, like love, friendship, and kindness. I can't wait to share them. That's fair. I really can't argue with her statement. The actress that's going to be portraying Snow White, she didn't say anything overtly political. These are all about, values, not about, oh, we're here to make sure there's no gay characters in the movie. Like, look, don't get me wrong. There shouldn't be. It's an adaptation of Snow White, but you're not out there talking culture war nonsense, and I can appreciate that. But again, can I believe that? Like, when you hear the word Daily Wire, you immediately assume right wing. Just like when you hear Disney, you immediately assume left wing. Is there a place for studios to do, apolitical middle ground movies anymore? I want to see it. Angel Studios was able to pull it off with oh my goodness, why am I blanking on the name? The Sound of Freedom. But people are still out there claiming it's right wing. So I'm really at a loss here. Have we gone so far into this culture war? Have we devolved to the point where even when movies are apolitical, like The Sound of Freedom, a movie about, getting rid of child traffickers and saving children, something you think that all people should agree with, when movies like that are being attacked for political ideology, are we so far gone that we're not going to be able to see movies nowadays without any sort of ideology? I can't wait for Dune 2 next year. Dune 2 was going to be my movie of the year this year, most likely. Well, now I'm going to have to look forward to it next year. But am I going to go into Dune 2 and start seeing all these think pieces on the internet about, Dune 2 secretly having a left wing or right wing agenda? What about when I go see Napoleon next month? It's a Ridley Scott film about, Napoleon. Are we going to see think pieces about how it's secretly a movie about how white men are, the fragile white male privilege and why they need to, feel the need to conquer everything because there's some, insecure masculinity trait? Like, I guarantee you we're going to see things like that when really, dude, it's just a historical epic period piece about, Napoleon Bonaparte. It truly is mind-blowing the times we live in. But again, we're getting to where we can't trust any of these studios, regardless of whether you agree with most of their political stances. The political stance shouldn't matter that the company takes when you go see a film, as long as that political stance is not shoved into the film. Now, maybe there's a chance that this will be an apolitical film, and just because it's by the Daily Wire doesn't mean they're going to shove politics into it. And you know what? If that's the case, maybe it'll end up being worth the watch. But can you blame a guy for being curious and for not having belief in that? To me, that's just as asinine as believing that the next Disney project would be apolitical. The move follows Disney's upcoming live-action remake of 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, generating some culture war controversy. First, conservative critics took issue with the casting of Latina star Zegler. You know what? I've already commented multiple times about them calling out conservative this. I'm gonna give the Hollywood Reporter a little bit of credit. They said Latina instead of Latinx or Latinx or whatever you want to call it. So take your small wins where you can get them. There really isn't much more to the article other than that. It goes on to, give us the same Rachel Zegler quotes that we've heard over and over that, frankly, I am just so tired of hearing, and I really don't want to put those little video clips in the video here for you, because I know you guys are getting real tired of seeing her go weird over and over. Like, it's blowing my mind at this point. I could never see that clip again. It'd be way too damn soon. And then the final paragraph is about David Hand, the individual that whose father was the director of the original Snow White, also named David Hand, talking about how he would be disgusted if he saw this movie today, how Walt Disney would be disgusted if he saw this today. And I bet that the son of the original Snow White director is incredibly correct in that assessment. This would be driving probably his father and most definitely Walt and Roy Disney up a wall to see what's happened to their company. But I also don't know if I could see Walt or Roy Disney, cheering on what the Daily Wire is doing either. And at the end of the day, Snow White is not a Disney story. Like they said in the article, it's a Brothers Grimm fairy tale, of which, like I mentioned, there are dozens of. So the fact that they're going after Snow White, one, probably because it's in the public domain, but wouldn't all Brothers Grimm stories be in the public domain at this point? I'd have to check on that. That you're doing this because you want to troll Disney, and like I said, I just don't think that's a good enough reason to make an entire film, to have an entire budget, to cast actors, to put out marketing, because you want to get one over on Disney, when really, your product's probably not going to be anything to write home about. That being said, I'd like you to prove me wrong, because if there's one thing I love on this channel, it's being proven wrong about media. I genuinely like that, because when I'm proven wrong about media, that usually means it's good, since I often go in expecting it to be bad, considering the last decade or so of media we've gotten. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and because of that, I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and we are almost there. We are just under 400 away, so please hit that subscribe button. Like I said, comment down below and get your fix of anime, movies, video games, music, you name it. It's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.